In news from the criminal courts, we learned that one man is charged with disturbance of the peace and delaying and obstructing an officer. Another faces multiple charges after shooting a co-worker, and a British Virgin Islands resident is facing federal charges for trying to smuggle illegal immigrants into the USVI. 62-year-old Claude Jarvis was arrested on October 31st following a report of a disturbance at Costulus supermarket on St. Thomas. Officers arrived at the location near Market Square East, where the assistant store manager said he called them because one man was refusing to leave his backpack at the front of the store as per policy. Police noted the sign at the entrance of the establishment stipulating that backpacks must be left at the front desk prior to shopping, and the assistant manager told them that he explained the policy to Jarvis, but Jarvis said that was a violation of his constitutional rights, accusing the store manager of racial discrimination. Officers told Jarvis that he must either abide by the backpack policy or leave the premises, but the man resisted. Police managed to get Jarvis outside, but he reportedly told them that he would walk right back into the store. A defiant Jarvis told police that the only way they could prevent him from re-entering the supermarket was for them to arrest him. After requesting for a final time that he comply with store policy and being rebuffed, the responding officers did in fact arrest Jarvis, charging him for disturbance of the peace and delaying and obstructing an officer. In court on Wednesday, a judge ruled that Jarvis could be released upon the posting of an unsecured bond in the sum of $1,000. He is barred from leaving the St. Thomas and John district without the court's written permission and must report to the probation office once a week. He will be allowed to return to Costulus, but only if he complies with the backpack policy. Jarvis is prohibited from consuming alcohol or any controlled substance. He is also prohibited from possessing a firearm, ammunition, or dangerous weapon. His arraignment is set for November 18th. 42-year-old Ossie Ferguson of St. Thomas was arrested on Tuesday for allegedly shooting a co-worker at the Emerald Beach Hotel. The day prior, Virgin Islands Port Police arrived on the property after a report was received of a fight at the hotel. Responding officers met with the complainant, who told them that he and Ferguson were involved in a physical altercation in the kitchen of the resort's Caribbean fusion restaurant. After the pair traded blows, Ferguson reportedly left the kitchen through the rear door before returning to confront his adversary, brandishing a handgun. The other man said he heard a gunshot and took off running. When the second shot came, he realized that he had been hit. The man said he continued running out of the kitchen through the dining room and towards the front of the hotel, where he met up with port police who had been alerted to the disturbance. The police called for emergency medical services to attend to the wounded man, and a subsequent examination revealed that he had been shot in the left buttock with a bullet still lodged inside his body. Forensics recovered spent shell casings from the scene and also collected the victim's clothing for further examination. Police investigations revealed a history of animosity between Ferguson and the gunshot victim, and further that Ferguson, who is not licensed to carry a firearm in the territory, had made comments about using a firearm in the victim's presence. On Tuesday, Ferguson surrendered himself to police and told arresting officers that he had dismantled the unlicensed weapon and thrown the pieces along the roadway heading towards the University of the Virgin Islands. He was then charged with first-degree assault, third-degree assault, simple assault, illegal discharge of a firearm, possession of a firearm during a crime of violence, possession of an unlicensed firearm, possession of ammunition, reckless endangerment in the first degree, disturbance of the peace by fighting, and destruction of evidence. In court on Wednesday, a judge ruled that Ferguson needed to post 20% of his $200,000 bail amount in order to be released. Once he is released from detention, he must stay at least 75 feet away from the victim at all times. Ferguson is barred from leaving the St. Thomas and John district without the court's written permission and must surrender his driver's license. He must report to the probation office twice a week, and if he loses his job, he must report that to probation and commence a work search within 24 hours. Ferguson is ordered to have no contact with the victim or any witnesses in the matter. He is prohibited from consuming any alcohol or controlled substance, as well as possessing a firearm, ammunition, or dangerous weapon. Meanwhile, a British Virgin Islands resident is currently facing federal charges in the USVI after he was apprehended with a dinghy full of unauthorized immigrants. Bunny Chinnery appeared before a U.S. magistrate on Wednesday, charged with the attempted smuggling of illegal immigrants and failure to heave to. Documents before the court indicate that around 9 p.m. Monday night, federal agents spotted the unlighted dinghy heading into Coral Bay. A Customs, Air, and Marine Operations patrol boat signaled for the dinghy to stop by firing warning flares and flashing its lights, but the dinghy, instead of stopping, increased its speed, prompting a short chase. Eventually, the vessel's engine was disabled, the dinghy brought to a halt, and it and its passengers were brought to St. Thomas for processing. The passengers identified Chinnery as the dinghy's captain and said he was the one who had brought them from Tortola. Apart from the BVI national, authorities identified 2 people from Haiti, 2 from the Dominican Republic, and 1 Venezuelan on board. Chinnery was due to appear in court today, Thursday, to determine whether he met the requirements for pre-trial release. Magistrate Ruth Miller said that he would have to sign a waiver of extradition, provide valid identification, and provide proof of income before he could be released.